are governments all over the world so involved in the semiconductor industry today?
I'll be honest, this is very easy. Shortage. Nobody, appreciated the shortage we had during COVID. And the reaction from all governments is, so I'm going to make it myself. And by the way, this is not just a microchips. We had shortages of masks, face masks during COVID. Everybody decided I have to manufacture my own mask. I understand that, although setting up mask manufacturing, face mask manufacturing, not very expensive. But yes, so right now, if you look at the subsidy level, I mentioned that earlier. We are reaching $1 trillion of government subsidies. And that's mostly to localize, regionalize, resource manufacturing to the home countries. I'm not judging that, by the way. I mean, my role as a consultant is to help read the industry, understand where the industry is going, and I'm not there to judge, if that's the right move or wrong move. It's a fact. It's a fact that today, these subsidies are going to regionalize the industry.
How is the government subsidies would be affected by monetary policy, which is launched by Federal Reserve Board?
Obviously, SVRI is not involved in the finance aspect or the subsidy sourcing of the industry. I just want to mention that, for example, in the USA, the subsidy level is a minute amount of money. If you look at the size of the GDP in the US, we are talking about tens of billions of dollars. This is nothing. So, to be honest, I'm not too concerned and too worried about the connection between what the federal banks decides on a month-by-month basis and this amount of money, which you probably know. But what is $50 billion in the U.S. government budget? Not a lot. So very little, I think. Oh, by the way, sorry, one comment is that may be not true elsewhere. What I'm mentioning is, $50 to $100 billion in US. Yes, maybe it's going to be slightly different. So, for example, Germany is going to spend a lot of money on subsidies, and the ratio of that subsidy to their GDP is a lot higher than in the US. I'm still not worried, because Germany is a very strong, industry and business. But nevertheless, yes, from country to country, it may be different.
What are your views about these government interventions in the semiconductor supply chain?
Yes, so I think there are two aspects, maybe three aspects to this. Number one is subsidies. Subsidies are simple. It's motivating people to invest. Nothing wrong with that. It's still a distortion in my mind, but that's a welcome distortion. But when you talk about Huawei, now we are talking about restriction, technology control. These are the constraints imposed to the industry. And there's no question that these are far more disruptive than subsidies. Subsidies, it's fine. I mean, I give you an example. In China, there's about $100+ billion to support the local makers of equipment for the semiconductor. That's fine. I mean, it's subsidies. It's helping them to grow and make better equipment. Now, when the government starts to get involved into regulating, controlling technology, two things. One is it has nothing to do with the semiconductor industry. I'm just one passive spectator to it. But second, no question. There's no question in my mind that I give you a few examples, but the fact that at the end, ASML ended up agreeing with the US and stop shipping certain type of lithography equipment to China will slow down some of the growth in China in terms of leading edge. What does it mean? It means that this investment will have to go somewhere else. Now, will it delay? Probably. Some of the wafer fabs, which were supposed to be in the 14 nanometers, for example, in China, will have to go somewhere else. And I'm sure this means some delay in terms of investment. Recently I was deeply involved with, project in India. There's no question in my mind that when a region cannot invest and grow, it asks for another region to take over. And that's what is happening today. So yes, your question was, are there negative effects? Can these interventions, I'm not talking about the subsidies, but the interventions on technology control, IP, affect the industry in terms of slowing down and, exacerbating the shortage? Yes, no question. There's no question in my mind that these are not done for industrial purpose. They are done for political reasons. And, in that sense, I'm just looking, by the way, the role of SVRI is to explain, the consequences, because, these constraints are mostly distortions of the business model. The question is, are there opportunities? There are opportunities. These opportunities will shift, will change. What we do at SVRI is just read the consequences of what will happen in India, in China, in Japan, and how should companies change their strategy in view of these constraints. So yes, going back to your question, no question that some of the constraint on technology, exporting, IP control may increase some of the shortage, may delay, may change investments.